Hey y'all, hey, it's Jasmine and I'm back with another Outlook tutorial. And in this video, we are going to be tackling your calendar. So we'll talk about how to send meeting requests. We'll talk about how to categorize, color code the things on your calendar, how to share your calendar, all things calendar in Outlook. And again, I'll be using Outlook 365 online. If you're using the actual Outlook app, a lot of this should be the same if you're on PC. If you're using a Mac, it's likely different. I am currently using a Mac, so this is the reason why I'm going to use Office 365, which is the online version, just so I don't confuse anybody who may be using a PC. So let's jump right in. I'm in my inbox. On the far left-hand side, you should see either icons or icons with the categories. And so mail, calendar, people, to do, etc. We are going to click on calendar. So this is currently mine, April 2025. Now, what you will notice is my calendar is very colorful, and that is on purpose. If you don't have categories, your calendar likely has all of your events in the same color. And that's fine. I'll show you how to go in, create categories, change the color, all of that stuff in this tutorial. If you notice across the top, I have month highlighted. You can change the view of your calendar, or let's say yours doesn't look like this. Maybe you're on the week view where you're just looking at the calendar week by week, where only one week shows up at a time. The regular week, Sunday to Saturday, you can change that window, but I believe this is what it defaults to. Then you have the work week, which is just Monday through Friday. So you can change that view. You can do a day where it just has everything that you've got going on for that day and different things. You can also filter. So if you're just looking for something, or let's just say you only want to see the meetings that you have, you can literally just select meetings and deselect all of these other things. And for today, I did not have any meetings. So then you can come in, you can clear filters, and then everything goes back on your calendar. I like the month view just because it allows me to kind of maneuver and get a big picture of things, but whichever view is more comfortable for you, then that's what I would suggest that you use. But I will be using the month view for most of this tutorial. All right, so we're going to talk about how to create a calendar invite. This will be very important for assistants, for coordinators, and a big part of the 8-week development program, because several of the items on your list do require that you send meeting requests. So we are going to cover how to do that. At the top, you see this blue button, or whatever color it may be for you. If you have changed that, it defaults to new event. We're going to do a new event. When you are trying to send calendar requests or schedule meetings, those are considered events. So we're going to schedule a new one. When you click on that, then the box shows up to allow you to put in all the details for the meeting or the event that you want to put either on your calendar or to share the calendar with someone else. Okay. So the first thing that you need to do is to give your event or your meeting or whatever you're putting on your calendar a name. All right. So for the sake of this, I'm going to call this a check-in meeting. And then in parentheses, I'm going to put test, just so that way I know that this is for the tutorial and not a real meeting. So you're going to give your meeting a name. Right next to that, you'll see this feature that says Teams meeting. Sometimes this automatically defaults to being on. I know in my Outlook app, it defaults to being on. If it is a Teams meeting, you want to have this on. So that way, when it sends the meeting request, it will include the link to the actual meeting. Those are generated by Office, and so you don't have to do anything special there, but just make sure that if you are planning on meeting on Teams, that this button is turned on. or if it is an in-person meeting, make sure that it's turned off. Now, one rule that I will suggest, this is something that I have started doing just so that way when people get it, there's no confusion about whether or not it's a Teams meeting or if it's in person. I literally will either put in person because sometimes people don't pay attention. Sometimes people, they just see, oh, I got a meeting. And then it's not until, the meeting is there that they realize, oh, it's supposed to be in person. I thought it was a Teams meeting, or vice versa. So this has been really helpful for me, where in the parentheses, I'll put in person or I'll put Teams, just so that way they know, and then just make sure that this button corresponds with that. So if this is a Teams meeting, I'm going to put test back on here. Then I just put that in parentheses and then make sure that this is on. The box up under that is where you invite the people that you need or want at the meeting. Okay, so invite attendees. So this is where you type in email addresses for the people that you want. So let's just say again that I'm going to be inviting the assistants to one of these trainings. So I can type in Kimberly, I can type in Jessica, Shamika, or if you have set up a contact list, I can type in 8-week assistants. That includes all three of them because in the previous tutorial, we talked about how to create contact list. So I can include them in the contact list. And again, if you ever want to see who was all included in that list, just to make sure it's up to date, you can click the plus sign in front of it and it will put all the individual emails out so you can see. You can delete people who may not be necessary at this meeting. Now, this button over here where it says optional, that will allow you to send an invite to people who don't necessarily have to be there. So let's say that it's mandatory for all of the assistants to be at this meeting, but let's just say I want to let the coordinators of these assistants know that they're going to be in this training. So then I can add optional invitees. And when you invite them, it'll show up on their calendar as they are optional. So then let's just say I'm going to invite coordinator for Jessica, the coordinator for Kimberly, and the coordinator for Shamika. They are optional. They don't have to attend. Maybe they can attend if they want, or maybe I just want to put it on their calendar so they know like where their assistants are when we're having this check-in meeting. So these are all the people that I am going to invite. I'm going to also add myself just so I can show you how it pops up on the calendar. You want to set the time for this meeting. So then let's just say I'm going to set it on the 24th and we're going to schedule it for 12:30 in the afternoon. It's going to be 1 hour. So the time will tell you how long. So we're going to do 1 hour meeting. And you see on the far left-hand side, it brings up my calendar on the 24th and where this goes. So it'll also show you if there's anything else on your calendar. So for example, this will show that I have a conflict with this time because I also have CPR and first aid scheduled on the 24th until 1 o'clock. So this is going to run into that. So let's say I need to change the time. You can come back over here and you can change the time. Let's say I need to move it down to 2 o'clock. And then you see the color changes. It's green because now I'm available. If we go back to doing it at 12:30, you see it's red because there's a conflict. Another way that you can go about changing the meeting, instead of clicking in each of these boxes to change the time, you can also just click on the actual meeting and move it. You can move it up or down. So again, if I try to schedule it earlier, it's red because there's a conflict in my schedule. But if I move it down to 2 o'clock, you see that it turns green and it says that everyone is available. You also see down here at the bottom where these people all have check marks that says that they're available as well. Okay, if you move it Some people have X's. I'm not available. Shamika has something on her calendar. She's not available. These people have no location set. And then I also want to point this out. We mentioned this when it comes to making sure that your calendar and your time is correct. What you see, Jessica plus 3 attendees are in different time zones. If they have not set their time zones to match yours or be accurate, this is going to pop up. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean there's an issue, but let's say somebody's on one coast, the East Coast, and you're having a Teams meeting on the West Coast. Then it'll tell you that everybody's in different time zones, and then the scheduling assistant up here will help you with it. I'm not going to get into the scheduling assistant in this video, but just know that it is there. But this does pop up. And so again, please make sure that your time zone and the settings for your inbox are correct. So that way when people try to schedule meetings with you, then it's accurate. I'm jumping back over here. Search for a room or location. Okay, so because this defaults to the company, we have the Program Development Training Center. Okay, so you can click on that if that's where you want to have the meeting. If it's in person, you can click here, in-person event, take this off of Teams. And so then again, you'll see in parentheses that it has in person for those. So where I'm putting parentheses, if it's an in-person event, it'll automatically do that for you if you click this on. If you happen to forget, again, I would suggest putting it in parentheses if it's on Teams or if it is in person. Okay, so this is a Teams meeting. I'm gonna turn that back on. Don't have to put a room or location. These are the notes. So this is where you add notes about the meeting, okay? This is a check-in meeting for assistants to meet with the coach. Let's say you have a meeting and you actually have an agenda for this meeting, or there's information that you need to include. You can come down here, hit attach, and you can browse the computer and search for that agenda. So you can attach things to the meeting. So if we browse this, I'm going to search. I'm just going to pick a random one. This has nothing to do with anything, but I'm just going to show you how to attach. So I picked the meeting agenda for one of the meetings, phase 2 meetings at Clifford Davis. And you see that attachment has been included. So then maybe in my notes, see attached for meeting agenda. So if you're having a principal meeting or anything like that, you can attach the agenda so that way they already know. Or maybe you have a slide presentation for this meeting that you want them to already have access to. So you can include multiple attachments when you're sending your calendar invite. You can also add pictures, changing formats. You can bold things, italicize, all the regular things. If you want to highlight, so let's say I want to make sure they really see this note about the agenda, you can highlight it. So we've got all the basic information, everybody that's included, the time. All right, I'm going to move this back down to 2 o'clock since everyone is available. All right, this is a Teams meeting. You always want to double check and make sure that everything is correct. It's a Teams meeting, so I make sure that the Teams button is on. I've got all the information. All of the people are set. And then we're getting ready to send. I am actually going to delete all of these people because I don't really want to send this to them, but I will leave myself as an option. You can also save this as a draft. So let's say that I'm not ready to send it. You can save it as a draft. And what will happen is it does still show up on my calendar, but it shows up as a draft. So I'm going to double click it and then I'm going to hit edit because now I want to go in and make some changes. The agenda is still attached. Still got my notes, still got myself because I'm the only person that it's going to send this to. And what you can do, let's say this is a reoccurring meeting. So then let's say that I need this meeting to happen every week. You would hit make reoccurring. You would click the start date. So I want to start on the 24th, okay, which is next Thursday. And then you can repeat however many times. So I want to repeat every 1 week, or if let's say it's a bi-weekly meeting, you would do 2. So how many times you want it to repeat, and then, each week, or you can do the month, or maybe it's only a yearly thing. So you can set it up to reoccur consistently. And then down here, you would add when you want it to stop. So let's just say I only want it for the next 2 months because they're in an 8-week program. So I want to start it on the 24th. I want it to repeat every 1 week because we're going to meet weekly. And I want it to stop at the end of May. So then I would go up to May. And let's say I want to come to the 29th as the last one. Or you can remove the end date if you just want it to keep going on and on and on, and there is no cutoff date. But I'm going to stop it on May 29th at the end of school because then their 8 weeks will be over. You can pick which day of the week you want it. So you can pick Thursday, you could pick Wednesday, you could pick multiple days. So let's just say it's a 2-day meeting or a 2-day training, or, maybe you want to block off a whole week. So that way y'all are doing like an extensive training or something like that. You can do that as well. But you pick which day that you want it on. We want it on Thursdays because the 24th is a Thursday. And then we hit save. And then right up under the time, you can see where it says occurs every Thursday until May 29th. All right. So this meeting will show up on the calendar every Thursday until May 29th. So I'm going to save it. And then what you will see is this check-in shows up on May 1st. If we go down to May, the check-in is on May 1st, it's on May 8th, etc. Now we're going to cover some of these items in the top bar. So you have response options. So what you can do is when you send a meeting request or a calendar invite, you can ask people to respond, right? So a request that they actually say if they're coming or not. Allow forwarding means that you allow them to forward and invite other people to the meeting. So if I'm doing a check-in, then maybe there's something that's going on at the site and the assistant wants the coordinator on the call. Allow forwarding means that they can take that information and forward it to their coordinator to get the information as well. If you just want the people at the meeting and they can't send it to anybody else, you would just make sure that that is unchecked. Then you have hide attendee list, which means it will hide everybody that you've invited. So let's say you don't want other people to see each other's emails. You can hide the attendee list so that way when the invitation goes out, they can't see who else is invited to the meeting. Or if you want them to see, then you would just make sure that it is unchecked, and then everybody will be able to see who's been invited to the meeting. Here is how it shows up on your calendar. If it's something that you're just putting on your calendar, let's say you're just working on a project, but technically you're free because you're going to be at your desk or you're going to be at your site, you can click that. So it shows up on your calendar, but then it just shows that you're available. Working elsewhere. All right. So that just means maybe you're not at your desk or at your site. Tentative, which means that you're not sure if you're going to be able to be there, or not. Busy or out of the office. It defaults to busy, so it shows up on your calendar as if like, no, I'm actually doing something. And then let's say you're somewhere that's got to be off campus or you're not going to be at your desk, you can put out of office. This is helpful for people when you share your calendar. I'm going to leave this as busy for this check-in meeting. I won't be available for that. This is where you change how far in advance you want the reminder. So when you get a calendar reminder, it defaults to 30 minutes before. You can change this. If you want like a don't remind me, that just turns off all of the notifications, that's fine. at the time of the event. You can do that 5 minutes before if you're doing like a Teams meeting, 30 minutes, 15, 30 minutes. You can do hours, you can do a week before. So let's say you've got a big event. And so then you want it to show up and notify people like, hey, don't forget, we've got this big thing coming up next week. You can do a week before. You can add an email reminder 12 hours before, but it defaults to 30 minutes. What I typically suggest is if you're having an in-person meeting, let's say that somebody totally forgot, you want to send or schedule the reminder to go out early enough that it gives them a chance to drive to the location in the event that they did forget. So let's say you're having a big meeting or training, or let's say there's something going on at corporate office and you're going to be coming from your site and it's going to take you 20, 30 minutes, then maybe you want to schedule an hour before. So that way you just like, oh, I've totally forgot about that meeting, but I've got time to get there. So you can play around with this, but my general rule of thumb, 15 to 30 minutes if it's like a Teams meeting, but give yourself plenty of time if people need to drive or if you yourself need to drive to a location in the event that you forgot. So let's just do 30 minutes before. Categorize is what makes your calendar colorful. So you can create categories for different things. So I'm going to click on this, and this shows you all the different categories that I have, and I have quite a few of them, which is what makes my calendar super colorful. I'm a coach, so I have people that submit assignments to me weekly. Boss things, so this is just anything that is related to my boss on my calendar, if we're checking in, if we're having one-on-one, etc. Focused work. So sometimes I'm doing like intensive notes or like recording these videos and different things like that. Then I have this showing up on my calendar. So if anybody that's seeing my calendar that I've shared it with, they see like, oh, Jasmine's working on a project. She's doing focus work. Don't disturb me. One-on-one meetings is a different color. Site observations, if I'm doing strategic coaching and tracking my time at a site. All things summer in green, and then trainings. If you don't have any categories, then you'll just click on new category. You'll give it a name and then you can assign it a color. So let's just say you want to do corporate meetings. So any trainings, any meetings that come from the corporate office, you can title that, assign it a color. So you kind of want different colors for different things. And again, you can diversify. This is how you are able to easily identify the different things. And then you just hit save. And then when you do that, what you'll notice is that the save button turned the color of this category, and then this shows up also to show you what category you selected for this particular meeting or calendar event. So again, you go to categorize, you can click new category. If you already have categories or maybe they don't show up, you can see all categories. So like I said, I have quite a few of them. If I'm filling in at a site, all of my personal appointments are in red. If I'm doing site observations, doing trainings. So you can have as many of these categories as you want to, just as long as, you're categorizing them. And then that way, when they show up on your calendar, it's easier for you to recognize what kind of meeting that it is. So for example, if I hit save, then now you see that this check-in meeting is light blue. Okay, it was dark blue at first and now it is light blue. So every category that you have will be assigned a different color. And as you're filling up your calendar, then that's how you get all of these colorful things, because that just shows categories. If you have a lot of things on your calendar and you're looking at it from the month view, you'll see a couple of things here that it'll say +2. If you click the +2, then it will show up with everything for that day. So CPR, this coaching call, and then the check-in meetings that I have. So if something isn't showing up on your calendar and it says like +3 or +1, you click there and then everything will show up for that. So that is how you categorize your different meeting requests. So then this leads to sharing your calendar. Down here under this month calendar view, you go to my calendars and then you can click show all. So these are all of the calendars that you have access to. So maybe you don't have access to any, or maybe you have a lot like myself. So United States holidays, this default. So you can see a calendar with all the holidays, birthdays. I think that may be an organization thing. Clayton, sports. So if you subscribe to other calendars, they'll show up here. People that have shared their calendar with me show up under where it says people's calendar. So I can see the programs calendar, which is any programs that are happening at the corporate office. I can see those. And then my boss has shared her calendar. The other member of SLT has shared her calendar, so I can access that. And then we've got various groups of other things that come with the calendar. I don't really check those, but you may see something under groups as well. So this is how you access other people's calendar. You just go under my calendar. All right. And then under people's calendar, and then it should show you everybody who has shared their calendar with you. Okay. Now, if we go up here to the settings again, next to either your initial or your picture, click on settings. We're going to come over here to calendar, which is defaulted on because we accessed this from the calendar. And then it'll bring up the view. And this is where you can make all the adjustments that you want to make. We're going to come down here to where it says shared calendars. This is how you share a calendar with someone. So they may request that you share the calendar. So I had someone whose principal asked that they share their calendar, or maybe you want to share it with your coordinator, or coordinator may want to share it with the assistants or your boss or whatever. So you're going to click on the gear icon again, come to calendar. We're going to go to shared calendars. And it's going to say share a calendar. You can share a calendar with people and choose whether to let them view or edit the calendar. So we're going to select the calendar. For me, it's just the regular one. And then you're going to hit share. This is where you type in the email address of whoever you want to share your calendar with. So again, that could be your boss, that could be your principal, that could be your coworkers if they need to know kind of what you got going on. Or maybe you have two jobs, and so you need your boss to see this calendar so that way they know when you're working your other job or however that looks. So then you put the email of the person that you want to share the calendar with. So I'm going to send this to, let's do Mark. This is how you control what they can and cannot see on your calendar. Can view when I'm busy. So any event on your calendar that is labeled busy, this is the only thing that they can see. And it'll literally just have a color block and it'll say busy. They can't see where you're going to be. They can't see any of the details of the meeting or whatever's on your calendar. It just shows the block of time and it just shows busy. So if they're trying to schedule something on your calendar, it'll just show that you're busy. Can view titles and locations. So this is kind of a limited view where they can see the title of whatever it is. So they can see that I'm having a check-in, and they can see that my check-in is on Teams, or that I'm in a training at the corporate office, but that's all they can see. And it'll have the block of time. But they can't see who's invited. They can't see the notes. They can't see the attachments, any of the details. It just shows the title and it just shows the location of where you're going to be. Can view all details is where it gives everything. Okay. So this is where they literally can click on the event on your calendar and they can see all the details, who's coming, what kind of meeting. They can see the notes, they can see the agenda, they can see all of those. Can edit. This is you giving permission for somebody to add things to your calendar. So this is a lot of times what happens when people have secretaries, where I'll share my calendar with the secretary and the secretary can go in and add meetings and different things to their boss's calendar. I don't let anyone edit my calendar. They can send me meeting requests and I can accept or reject those. But in any event, let's say, for the assistants, they don't mind allowing their coordinators to put stuff on their calendar. So then that person can go in and edit. They can go in and delete stuff. They can go in and add stuff. There is cause for that, but I don't typically use this. I'm not really sure what delegate means. But if you want to do some research on that, you can. When you're sharing, you want to use discretion for this. So typically, if you're sharing like with your principal or maybe outside people, maybe they can just view when I'm busy. Okay, they just want to know when they can schedule their monthly meetings with you to talk about the program. That's what I would suggest for that. And then you can change this to be for a group of people. So people in my organization can view when I'm busy. So if they pull up my calendar, they can see when I'm busy, but the average person in my organization cannot see all the details. Or you can do people in my organization not shared. I don't want to share my calendar just in general with the people in my organization. So you can change that. And then this is where you edit the information or the access for the people you've already shared your calendar with. Faustina can view all details. We're all on the senior leadership team, so she can see because sometimes she may be looking for me in the office. And so I've just given her access so that way she can see, like if I'm going to a personal appointment or if I'm, doing a check-in at a site or doing a visit. So she can see all the details. Isis can also see all the details because she's the boss. Outside of the organization, this is where I sent it to myself. Then what you would just do up here is you would just hit share. And when you share, then Mark or whoever you send it to will get an email or a notification that says Jasmine has shared her calendar with you. Okay, and then you can go in and you can accept. I do want to show you this work hours and location. So like when you try to send an email and it says, do you want to send it during this person's work hours? This is what that means. Work hours and location is where you define typically what your work hours are. So people kind of have an idea if they're trying to reach you via email when they should send it. So again, make sure that your time zone is correct. You can click what days, you are working or not working. So I typically work Monday through Friday. So I've got all of those highlighted. 8 to 5. That's just general. Doesn't have to be specific. But like for assistants, you guys will put 12:30 to 6:30 or coordinators 10:30 to 6:30, whatever that looks like. So you could define it for every day. And then location, you could put office. Let's say you have one day that you work remotely usually. Then Tuesdays I work remotely, but every other day um I'm in the office. I don't work remotely on Tuesdays. I'm in the office. But this is how you set your work hours and location. And then again, you can show your work location on the calendar, or people in my organization can't view any location. So just anybody that's looking at my calendar, they can't know, or maybe you want them to know where you are. They can view general location. They can view all details. Again, this is just giving different people different levels of access. This is where you can set your defaults. If you go to events, we're still under calendar. If you go to events and invitations, you can customize this, that it'll default that Teams meeting button that we talked about before, that it'll automatically default to that. Choose a meeting provider, Microsoft Teams. So automatically defaults. You can change your default reminder. Again, it defaults to 30 minutes, but you can change that. So that way, anytime you set a meeting, maybe you just always want to do 15 minutes, you can do that. And then down here, you can set kind of how you want to handle different things. So you can delete invitations from your inbox after you respond. So once you either accept or reject, you can have it automatically delete the invitation from your inbox so it doesn't get cluttered. Show decline events on your calendar. You will show as being free. So if you decline an event, it'll take it off your calendar and it just shows that's nothing. So again, you can go in and you can play with these different features, but that's basically how you go about sharing a calendar. You come to settings, you go to calendar, and then you go to shared calendars. And this is where you find the people you're currently sharing calendars with or want to share calendars with if you need to do that. So basically, that's how you go about sending meeting requests, sharing your calendar, making it all colorful, doing your different categories, and then also being able to change the view. I will show you this real quickly, where if you are looking at someone else's calendar as well, you can bring it up to where it's a side-by-side view. So like for mine and my boss's, it has side-by-side up here. You'll see where it says split view. So then it'll show the side-by-side. If you take that off, then it'll show it all in one calendar. And then her stuff is in green and my stuff is in blue. Okay. So then that just shows one calendar and then you can see everybody. Let's see if I see her calendar as well. Her shows up in red. So I can see everybody's calendar at the same time if I'm trying to schedule something and then figure out, okay, what's the empty block of time? Okay. So for all three of us, the 24th at 1 p.m. looks like it's open. And if you click right there in that space, you can schedule the meeting right from here. So you don't have to go back to create a new event. You can just click in the blank space. And then let's just say I want to do a SLT meeting. I want to invite the SLT team. The day and the time is already there, right? Team meeting. Again, mine defaults to this. We're going to do it on Teams. Hey, need to do a quick check-in and updates. Okay. And then once you do that, you just hit send. If you want to add more options, you can click more options down here and then it brings up the full scheduling. Okay. So then you can do your categorize it if you want it private. But if you're trying to schedule a meeting with multiple people, you can look at all of their calendars and then just find the blank time, click in the space, and then you could just do a real quick meeting events. Okay. So again, that's how you send events, put stuff on your calendar, categorize things, share your calendar, change your calendar view, all of those different things. So hopefully this tutorial has been helpful to help you navigate your calendar and sending those requests. So we'll see you on the next training.